Joe Walsh right now, the former Republican congressman in the state of Illinois, to see what you make of this fiasco that continues in Washington. So I think we thought Jim Jordan might be short in terms of how many votes, but 20's a lot. What do you make of what's happened so far today?
20 is a big number.
Yeah.
And you made a great point. Look, I think there are a lot of people who voted for Jordan the first time around, I've heard, who now are not going to vote for him. So that's a big, huge number to overcome. And can we just pause for a minute and just look at the split screen? What's going on our TV sets today? War in the Middle East. Israel is burying its dead and fighting to defend its very existence. And here we are 2 weeks, and the Republicans still can't pick a speaker. This is embarrassing. It's dysfunctional, and it's really dangerous.
You know, one of the things, Joe Connell, who's our reporter on Capitol Hill, I was just speaking to him before I spoke to you. One of the things he said earlier today was that if Jordan fails, as he did, that, maybe there's a deal to be made with the Democrats. In other words, Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats, and not that Hakeem Jeffries would become speaker, nobody's talking about that, but that Patrick McHenry, who's the temporary speaker, would actually have some powers. And they would say, to your point, hey, we got to run this country. We got to get the Ukraine aid and the Israel aid. We got to get that all on the floor. So maybe that's the answer in the short term if they go nowhere with Jordan. Do you think that's a good idea? Or?
Maybe. I think there's an idea like that. I don't think it will necessarily be working with the Democrats. But I can't fathom how these Republicans will want to end this week and still not have a speaker. So I think Jordan's got until the end of today, and then that's it. And I still think that's a really tall mountain for him to climb. I wouldn't be surprised to see Republicans get behind a McHenry or get behind a Tom Cole in Oklahoma, just a good old boy who's been there forever. And I got to tell you, I wouldn't be surprised at this point if Kevin McCarthy is voted back in. This is such a mess. There was never, ever a game plan here. Don't forget this. From the very beginning, this was driven by Matt Gaetz. One guy, period. So, McCarthy could be back on the table.
Yeah, anything could happen. You're right. I mean, the way it's working right now, you have people talking about so-called moderate Republicans. There's not as many left, as you know, as there were years ago in the Congress. So I'm not sure exactly what influence they have. But there have been some who've talked about, there was a Democrat on our show saying yesterday, you can't have anybody who voted to overturn the election in Jordan. But then that certainly limits the numbers in the Republican caucus. Let me bring up Liz Cheney's tweet on that subject, saying Jim Jordan was involved in Trump's conspiracy to steal the election, seize power, urging that Pence refuse to count lawful electoral votes. If the Republicans nominate Jordan to be Speaker, which obviously they have, they'll be abandoning the Constitution and lose the House majority, and they'll deserve to. That's the last point I want to ask you about, not whether they should or shouldn't, but what is the political risk for Republicans as this whole process plays out?
Oh, I don't think it matters who the Speaker is. I think Republicans lost the majority in 2024 a couple weeks ago.
They're done already, is your point.
Oh, yeah, when they went through that spectacle of getting rid of McCarthy. And look, what have these Republicans done for the last year and a half? All they've done is investigate Democrats. So they haven't done anything. You combine that with this dysfunction. Look, Jim Jordan, probably more than any other member of Congress, worked with Donald Trump to try to overturn the 2020 election. That's despicable that he's even close to being Speaker. But you know what? That's where the Republican Party is right now. That's the more worrisome thing.
To that point, on Trump's, former President Trump's social media, on his own social media, Truth Social, when he endorsed Jordan, the way he talked about him is he's strong on crime, border, military, vets, Second Amendment, and then that his wife and his family are outstanding. And Trump says he'll be a great Speaker of the House, complete and total endorsement. So that's what he said when he endorsed him there a couple of weeks ago. Is that endorsement now in the Republican Party still a blessing? I mean, Donald Trump's by far the most popular person, or because of how split the caucus is there some sort of a curse involved in it as well, in your view?
No, it's still the blessing. Trump is still the leader of the party, and he's going to be the 2024 nominee.
Yep.
But everything Trump said there is BS. Trump loves Jordan because Jordan is the biggest election denier in Congress, And more than anything, that's what Donald Trump cares about.
How's this going to end up, if you had to guess? I mean, and your guess is as good as anybody's right now. At least you've served in the Congress and know some of these people. What do you think is going to happen?
Oh, I'm an idiot. What do I know? I've been wrong so much. I think that there will be a consensus candidate by the end of the week. I think they'll fall back on some old moderate who's been there forever to just sort of be a placeholder for a year.
A placeholder. It could be McHenry. Is that possible?
It could be McHenry.
Yeah, I mean, he's been there a long time. He is fairly well respected, right? The Republican conference, and he is the temporary speaker. So would that make sense?
He is. Yeah. That would be a perfect fallback, because I just don't think Jordan can get over this hurdle, and then they don't want to go through this again.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider, and don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.